So far we've been talking about locations and their territories, but we haven't necessarily discussed MetaLocator's category system and how individual locations can be present in one or more categories. And so in this example, this sample location 1 we can see is in the both painting and construction category, and then down here sample location 4 is only in painting. This is a relatively common application of MetaLocator's category system where we're using the categories to describe the products or services available at an individual location. Now, territories often overlap with products and services. So for example, one location may be only authorized, or maybe they only provide painting services in a particular territory. So you can connect the idea of categories with the idea of territories so that you can describe the territories that a particular location is in terms of the products and services that they offer. And let's look at a particular data example here. So we've got sample location 1. They provide painting and construction, but it looks like they only provide painting in Wisconsin and they provide construction services in Ohio. And so down here you can see that this location is in Illinois, but they provide painting services in Florida and Alabama, and then also construction services in Florida and Alabama. And then down here we've just got our traditional territory state field. And so in this video example, we're going to show you how to import territories by category, and we're also going to show you how to enable that in the interface and how that impacts the search. So the first thing we're going to do is import the file that we're looking at. And when you're importing territories by category, it looks a little bit different than typical imports. So let's go ahead and import that CSV. And we're going to see some unmatched columns off to the right. Now in MetaLocator, we already have a territory state field. Notice it's barking about how it wants to create these as a custom field. Go ahead and leave those as red. No new fields are actually going to be created. It's going to understand that, hey, you already have a territory state field and that these are specially formatted columns that indicate that this is a category-based territory, as indicated by the name of the category in square brackets and the name of a category in square brackets as shown there. So make sure that you get the spelling exactly the same and that those are provided in square brackets with no extra spaces or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and click next and get those imported. Again, I'm going to go ahead and wipe out all the data and click finish and let that import. Now, before we get into the interface, let's just look at how that is represented in the data. We had a couple examples. So in this first location, the sample location 1, let's go under all records. We can see that they're in the painting and construction categories. But if we go under custom fields, we have a state level territory field that's indicated by this entire area here. So territory state, this is all of the territory state field. Notice we have state-specific categories, or I should say category-specific territories for painting and construction. So, and these are state level territories. And so that corresponds exactly to the data that we saw here. So let's look down at how that's represented here in sample location 5. So notice the territory state field is empty in this one. If we go to sample location 5, we should see in the custom fields, we should see WI listed there, just like it is in the data. And so that indicates that this particular location at the top provides services for painting in Wisconsin and construction in Ohio. And before we go any further, I want to point out a bit of a pitfall. If a location provides painting services in Wisconsin, but they're not in the painting category, they're never going to show up for that painting territory. So always make sure that if you have specified a category-based territory, that location has to be in that territory, or excuse me, in that category for it to be returned as a result at all, let alone a territory match. So now that we've got that data imported, we're going to switch over to the interface and we're going to see how we can leverage categories by territory in the search. Now that I've got my data imported, I'm going to go into my interface and make a couple adjustments to the settings in order to reflect our newfound strategy of territories by category. One of the first things I'm going to do is in the search form, so I'm going to make sure that category is one of the options. So just for the sake of brevity, I'm going to remove this location field. I'm also going to remove country. And I'm going to go ahead and add the category field. And I'm going to drag it and drop it right after location. I'm going to go ahead and label it category so that we understand what the user is choosing. You might call that something like products and services. In this example, I'm just going to keep it as category. And then over on the territory settings, we have enable territories, but I'm also going to enable territories by category. Just to keep things simple, I'm going to turn off exclusive territories. We're not using any drop downs, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And then I'm also going to turn off the partial match keyword just to keep things as simple as possible. So I'll go ahead and save that. And so what that should enable, now that we have essentially taken us from the defaults, the only things that we've changed from the defaults now in this case are enable territories by category, and then we've also turned enable territories on. And then we're also doing promote territories, is simply bring those up to the top. And so if I switch back over to the interface builder, I should be able to see a search by category, and let's perform a couple examples. So let's search for, in the state of Washington, 98421. This should return that location as a geographic result. That is, this location matched based on the fact that it is in the state of Wisconsin, or the state of Washington. But let's search for 53211. Now notice that that location has a territory that includes the state of Wisconsin, but it's only for painting services. So notice that this location in Florida should have been returned. So we can see down here this sample location 5 was returned because he has a territory state of Wisconsin. But notice that because painting was not selected, and that this location did not get returned. So let's go back here, and now let's choose painting and search for 53211. Now notice that that first sample location does in fact get returned because this location provides painting services in the state of Wisconsin. And that is the essence, if you will, of category-based territories. So the user had to search for that category in order for the data provided in this category-based territory to be returned. So that's essentially how that works. And so if you enable the territories by category and you provide the data for the territories by category, and you include category in the search, you should be able to effectively provide results that indicate territories by category.